Hi, and welcome to Marry Fucking Kill. I'm Molly Park, and boy, do I have a doozy of an episode for you. Today, I'm gonna serialize the creepy as fuck and truly terrifying, also incorrectly monikered, Trinity Killer. Spoiler alert, he didn't kill in threes, he killed in fucking fours, and he's been doing this since, wait for it, 1979. This killer has lasted longer than disco, hair metal, and grunge combined. Watch out, Zodiac. And for all we know, he could still be out there teaching in the streets and slaying in the sheets and bathtubs today. Let's dig in on kill cycle number 1. Lady in the water. Trinity goes on the prowl, searching for young women, breaks into their house, and then slaughters them with the razor. You know those creepy switchblade-like things that old-school barbers and Highland Park hipsters trying to be retro use? I had a boyfriend who used one of those. He did a couple of episodes of Riverdale. I won't say his name. Sliced the fuck out of himself just to be cool and shit. I considered calling him Nick instead. Me? I'm a Venus razor girl. Works best to keep winter legs from giving my mother a heart attack. But back to Trinity, which is why we're all here. He'd crawl into the bathtub with his victim and slash into their thighs, leaving them soaking in a pool of their own plasma. Side note, I bet a bathtub of blood is actually great for your complexion. Move over Korean body scrubs, blood spas are the next best thing. But I digress. What's totally messed up and completely misogynistic about these kills, for years on end, homicide cops would come to the scene of the crime, find these women laid out in their tub, sometimes left there for days on end, and call it suicide. 'Cause, you know, women be crazy. Never mind that no female would choose to go out like this. I mean, slashing wrists is a thing. Thigh suicide is so not. Don't men know anything? We hate our thighs. So Trinity got away with this shit for years on end. So yeah, fuck you, Trinity. Who knows what fucked up shit his mother did to him to make him decide to kill countless women this way. Breaking news alert to all you fucking serial killers out there. All women are not your goddamn mothers. Anywho, on to kill cycle number 2. This one is real deal nightmare juice to all you mothers out there. Trinity would go trawling for MILFs. Well, not mothers I'd like to fuck. You know what? I hate that term. Let's nix that from the Marry Fucking Kill vocab. Mothers of 2, as in mothers with 2 kids. Breaking news alert part 2. All mothers are not your goddamn mothers, you sick fuck serial killers. Seriously, I don't think I can say that enough. Jesus. So Trinity would stalk his prey, looking for mothers with an older daughter and younger boy. Snatch them up, Buffalo Bill style, minus the Bundy blow to the head, bring them to the top of a tall building, and fucking force them to jump. Can you imagine? The sheer terror these poor women felt? What fucked up threats Trinity must have said to them to make these women jump on their own volition, masking his multiple kills once again as suicides. I mean, he had to have threatened to wipe out their kids in horrible ways, right? Making these mothers flat-out warriors protecting their kids. There was never any sign of physical coercion outside of what falling 6 or more stories and smashing into concrete will do to ya. Talk about homewrecker. We finally get a reprieve from all this violence against women when Trinity would find some poor dad and bludgeon the shit out of him in the back alley of some bar. The beaten and battered dad would have bloody knuckles like he gave a hell of a fight before it was beatdown time. Investigators always give it up to being the usual drunken douchebag dust-up that happens after closing time in bars, which is why I never hang out in low-end dives. I see enough fistcuffs on my passenger-shaming Insta feed. So all these horrific homicides have gone quietly under the radar as suicides and brawl gone wrong since 1979. 1979. Think about that. That's a lot of murdered mamas and papas that got zero justice. It would have continued in this invisible way if it weren't for FBI Special Agent Frank Lundy. He's the one to put this pattern together, following these kills all over the country. No real evidence, just that intuition that all great investigators have. A feeling in his gut about how in the same city, there would be a young woman who committed suicide by slashing her femoral artery in a bathtub, followed by a mother of 2 leaping to her death, and a fighting father who went down in the 9th outside of a dive bar in the wee hours of the morning. Some people think Lundy was a genius. I wish I could pick his brain. But, well, more on that later. Following a bathtub suicide and a mother leaping to her death, Lundy came to Miami, its own little hotbed of serial killing with that other titan of life-taking, the Bay Harbor Butcher. For more on that sicko, check out episode 113. And managed to enlist the help of Miami Metro Homicide. It's there in Miami where Lundy really hit his stride, leading the investigation to the most mild-mannered neighborhood dad, Arthur Mitchell, you can imagine. I mean, this fucko would give Clark Kent a run for his money in the biz of being mild-mannered. Teacher by day, serial killer by night, father of 2, and a loving wife, all of whom are still out there in the FBI Witness Protection Program. Why is that? We'll get to that later. Artie also found to have an older daughter who was dallying with Detective Joey Quinn, a total hunk who looked like he could have been on Gossip Girl. He could totally get it. It's funny how serial killers and their families can sometimes Venn diagram with law enforcement. Wait, where was I? Oh yeah, Trinity means 3, right? Well, it was Miami Metro Homicide and Frank Lundy who realized that this leg-slashing, mother-throwing, daddy-hammering asshole didn't just kill in 3s. He killed in 4s. It was tied into his most fucked up, beyond fucked up killing of a young boy. If there's one thing we know, it's that nobody should kill little kids. And dogs. Cats? Sure. Don't hate me, cat ladies. Those little furry felines are God's own serial killers, let's be real. I should love them, but I don't. They're the only pet that will flat out eat your eyes out if you collapse and die in your homes. Speaking of homes, that's exactly where Arthur would bury these killed kitties. Remember all that mild-mannered bullshit we were talking about? Arthur was also a bleeding heart. He would go on vacation once a year or so, but his vacation? Building homes for the homeless. Move over Jimmy Carter. This guy really put his heart into the foundations of the homes he helped build. Well, the heart of the deceased toddler. And the name of the organization that he volunteered for, wait for it, 4 walls, 1 heart. Do you follow? Sicko. Jesus H. Christ on a crutch. Our Arthur Mitchell had a dark sense of humor, I'll give him that. Once Miami Metro Homicide put this together and saw all the places Arthur Mitchell had helped build a home, yeah, it's excavate that basement to find a dead kid inside those walls. So with Special Agent Frank Lundy on his tail, Arthur Mitchell's daughter, the one born out of wedlock or some shit like that, comes to her serial killer dad's rescue and shoots Lundy and his girlfriend, policewoman Deborah Morgan. Lundy dies, and the young detective with father issues, Deborah, survives, which only puts her more resolutely onto the trail of the Trinity Killer. You go, girl. This brings us to our final kill. At least the last one that we recognize as a classic Trinity slaying. The police are finally hip to his MO. But of course, they don't get it together fast enough to stop him from one final cut. For this one, he goes rogue. Some folks think this last slaying was blood for blood, with Miami Metro Homicide hot on the trail of Christine, the Lundy killer, the daughter of the most prolific of serial killers, took her own life rather than go to jail. Finally, a real deal suicide rather than all the fake ones that her father perpetuated on so many women. There's some kind of justice, right? Think about that. It was Detective Deborah Morgan who caused this. So Trinity went after this gorgeous girl-next-door beauty with the picture-perfect family and sister-in-law to Debbie, Rita Morgan. And this is the real fucked up part. She has a young baby. Arthur pulled a Lady in the Lake-style murder on this poor woman, barged into her home, stripped her down and bathed her, slashed her thigh, watched as she bled out. And this young baby? He's in the fucking room when she dies, leaving that baby crawling in a pool of his mother's own blood. How fucked up is that kid now? Am I right? I mean, there's not enough therapy in the world to make things right in that kid's head. And kiddo, if you're out there and you want to come be a guest on Marry Fucking Kill, I'm your Huckleberry. I'd love to pick your brain, find out which side of the tracks you ended up on, psycho or perfectly normal. Hit me up on my Insta. I call that the last kill because Arthur Mitchell disappeared into the wilderness. Nobody knows where that motherfucker went. So the next time you see a suicide or an accidental death or move into a house with a basement with a strange lump at the foundation, wonder if this is the work of the misnamed Trinity Killer. Is he on some new form of kill cycle? Because fuckers like this don't just decide to end their killing careers and move on to oil painting. No, they keep on keeping on. Maybe, just maybe, that old dude who's staring at you at the local farmer's market isn't just a harmless fella dreaming of the old days. Maybe he's gonna follow you home and do who the fuck knows what to you, leaving you to bleed out in your bed. And Trinity, Arthur baby, if you're out there and you're listening along, jerking off as you're revisiting all these nauseating kills, fuck you. Sincerely, Molly Park. Join us next week as we delve back into Miami Slayers and talk about Brian Moser, the Ice Truck Killer. Until then, stay frosty, my murder fiends.